International Space Flight Center. Thanks for that great message and awesome ride to orbit. And 134 before that.
Atlantis Houston, good config for the burn.
Copy, good config.
Flying high over the Atlantic Ocean off the west coast of Africa, we're just seconds away from this course correction burn as we watch over the shoulders of Chris Ferguson and Doug Hurley up on the flight deck of Atlantis. You can see very clearly the cannon-like jolt of those big orbital maneuvering system engines. And courtesy of space station cameras, our first view of the shuttle Atlantis.
Good burn, Atlantis, no trim required.
Copy, good burn.
Through the centerline camera and the orbiter docking system, this sequential still video view of the International Space Station.
Atlantis station on the big loop, we have you in sight. Excellent, we'll be there soon. We're waiting.
Atlantis Houston, you are go for the RPM. Go to proceed inside 600 feet.
Houston station, Atlantis on the big loop, initiating RPM in 3, 2, 1, mark. 40 copy.
Houston, copy.
With that, Commander Chris Ferguson now will begin the slow 3/4 of a degree per second rotational backflip. This again is about a 9-minute maneuver. You'll hear the start photography call initiated when the orbiter is in the correct orientation of this procedure. The actual R-bar pitch maneuver will last about 9 minutes in duration. About 93 seconds of available photography for Sergei Volkov, Mike Fossum, and Satoshi Furukawa.
Station Atlantis on the big loop. Start photos. Starting photos.
And with that, a period of about 93 seconds of good photography now initiated for Sergei Volkov, Mike Fossum, and Satoshi Furukawa using digital cameras and high-powered lenses out of the Zvezda service module. The rendezvous officer indicates to Flight Director Quatsiala Barujo that Commander Chris Ferguson has flown a textbook R-bar pitch maneuver. And you can see the structure of the International Space Station now coming into view as both spacecraft pass over the limb of the Earth. Atlantis coming up on the so-called V-bar, the velocity vector.
Atlantis Houston on the big loop. The teams have been pulled in concurrence. You are go for docking.
Atlantis on the big loop, copy. Go for docking. Houston and station Atlantis on the big loop. We don't see a flyout. We're initiating the final approach.
Houston, copy.
Station copy.
Pilot Doug Hurley informing both station and shuttle flight control rooms that no flyout is required, meaning no additional alignment required. Commander Chris Ferguson is dead spot on with the two docking mechanisms perfectly aligned. Contact docking confirmed. Capture confirmed at 10:07 a.m. Central Time.
Houston, station Atlantis, capture confirmed, and we see free drift.
Station Atlantis Houston, station free drift is confirmed.
Atlantis, Aladdin. Welcome to the International Space Station for the last time. That's great to be here, station. We'll see you shortly.
It's good to be home on station. How's everybody?
Командир, вперед! Командир!
All right.
Командир пошел!
Big Russian hug.
Командир пошел!
Big Russian hug. How you doing, guys?
Hey, Doug! Doug! Touched her! Finally meeting up. Boys and I said, 3 years later.
In the wake of yesterday's docking of Atlantis to the International Space Station, the heavy lifting begins, the highlight of which will be the unberthing and removal of the Raffaello multi-purpose logistics module from the cargo bay of Atlantis. Raffaello is 21.6 feet long, 15 feet wide. Fully loaded, weighs about 12.5 tons. It is equipped and supplied by 9,403 pounds of cargo that will be transferred to the International Space Station over the course of the next several days.
And Houston, Atlantis, we're starting the maneuver to unberth the MPLM.
We copy, Sandy. We're following.
And with kid gloves, Sandy Magnus at the controls of the station's robotic arm, beginning the process of unberthing Raffaello from Atlantis' cargo bay.
And Atlantis, the MPLM is unberthed. I don't know if you want to mess with the Q camera at all just to see if it's working, but if you manage to get it on, you can deactivate it.
Okay, we'll take care of that, thanks.
Yeah, on the big loop, Sandy and Satoshi, maneuver to RTL complete. Your go for first stage capture.
Hey, Houston on the big loop, we're going to pick up at 1.108. Step 1, we're ready to open the No. 2 Nader hatch.
Further, we copy and we're good with that. Hey Rob, are you guys up on the Columbus camera here pointing down into the Nader No. 2?
Affirmative.
Okay, so for all you guys who worked at Expedition 18, I'd like to announce the return of the socks.
We got a great view, thanks.
Just a little nostalgia there for a moment.
We appreciate it.
STS-135 pilot Doug Hurley there, along with Sandy Magnus, moving a fairly large-size heat exchanger through the station. There's quite a bit of equipment being moved from the MPLM into the station, but also quite a bit being moved from the station back into the MPLM, as well as Atlantis' mid-deck. So the crew is well underway getting all of these materials and supplies transferred from one carrier to another.
This is Mission Control Houston. Spacewalk preparations continue in the equipment lock section of the Quest airlock. You see Mike Fossum slithering his way into the upper torso of his extravehicular mobility unit. Not the easiest task in the world, but with the assistance of Satoshi Furukawa on the left and Atlantis Commander Chris Ferguson on the right. Fossum is now secured in the upper torso portion of a suit, flexing his arms to make sure he's comfortable. And a good view from another camera in the Quest airlock as you watch Fossum on the right and Garen on the left flexing their legs, part of this exercise pre-breathe protocol.
All the checks look good. Are you guys ready? 81, born ready. Mike was always born ready. Okay, cover is open. You can egress the airlock if you want. All right. We're attaching an anchor hook to the aft external D-ring. Ready to rock and roll? Ready to rock and roll. Let's go, buddy. Time to get to work.
We started out installing the new COLT tools, or the Contingency Operation LAPA tools, onto the backside of the pump module platform. Those went right into position. What a great team working together to get that designed. Those tools worked flawlessly. Pump module hung up just a little bit on the external stowage platform before we got it released. He gave it one more little try with the PGT. Bolt didn't turn at all, so he gave it a little yank, and the whole thing came loose. And there you can see it starting to move.
Nice job, guys. Nice and easy. Clear the course.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate that.
It's about 1,500 pounds, so it takes quite a bit to move it.
Okay, Ronnie, you ready to lift up the pump module? Let's do it. 1,400 pounds, buddy. Let's do this. Yeah, okay. Ready? Go.
Here's see Ron controlling the whole thing on the robot arm, and notice he's just very slowly turning the whole thing over. It started out in one orientation, kind of a heads-up orientation, and he needed to turn it 180 degrees around so that when he got down to the payload bay, he'd be heads down in the payload bay and could install the pump module when he got down there.
Now clear of external stowage platform number 2, headed down to Atlantis' payload bay, where the pump module will be secured on a truss support structure at the very back of the bay for the trip back home and an engineering evaluation to determine what caused the pump to fail on the night of July 31st last year. There are 3 spare pump modules residing on various locations on the International Space Station for use in the future should another one go down.
Nice looking spaceship you guys got here. Well, thank you.
Mike Fossum is preparing the work site at the Mission Peculiar Support Structure, as it's called, the cargo truss, basically at the back of the cargo bay of Atlantis. Just above him is Ron Garin holding on to the pump module and its support attachment mechanism.
Okay, Ron.
The pump module and its attachment mechanism now aligned to a comparable attachment mechanism on this truss at the rear of Atlantis' cargo bay.
You guys are good with the GCA. We can end GCA and go break down. GCA is complete. Okay. Brakes are on. You guys are clear for APFR egress and ingress.
Mike Fossum has this robotic refueling mission, the RRM, in his hands. He's on the end of the station's arm and moving out of Atlantis' payload bay.
Hey, close encounter to OPSS. See that? Cheerful red light on the top.
Here you see the robotics refueling mission just about to be installed and handed off to the Dexter arm over on the Lab Nader. I know that everybody at Goddard was holding their breath here, making sure that we were all sending them good wishes, and we were able to get it installed onto the Dexter just fine. Then it was off to install the MISSI, or the Materials ISS experiment, the small portion of that called the ORMATE. Took some photos of that. That's material samples that are exposed to the ram and wake of space. From there, we went on to work on the grapple fixture that had the little wire sticking out through one of the latch doors. You can see it getting cleared there and then pulled out of the way. That went just like the training. It was just like watching training video to see how well this went, just like we had planned. It doesn't always go that well, but today it sure did, and we were glad to see it. Our final task on the EVA was installing the thermal cover. Here you see it coming out of the bag. You can think of it as a great big comforter coming out of the on-orbit replacement ORU bag. Here you can see it in its final configuration, strapped down. It's got 9 Velcro straps that hold it into position. And about the time that they had it installed in this configuration, the thermal officer in the front room in the Mission Control Center stood up and turned around and said, "I can already see it starting to take effect." He could already see it in his data just that fast. So that's a very successful project.
Well, I'd like to thank there were a lot of teams whose hard work all came into play for this EVA. Dr. Brown led a magnificent team of people that put together a lot of stuff, and they had to do it in the hard way with Ron and I. With Ron and me traveling a lot,